title of this class or talk is The Road to Extraordinary. We're still talking about Buddhism, plain and simple. This is part 2. Yeah? Okay. The Road to Extraordinary. Here's the story. A young guy from Texas moved to California in search of a job. His name is Mark, Brother Mark. Vibrant, sparkling eyes fellow. And when he moved to California, he went straight to a gigantic department store, all in one. You could buy everything under that roof. Yeah, he went to this gigantic department store and spoke with the manager. The manager asked him, "Buddy, do you have any sales experience?" And Mark, with sparkling eyes, said, "Yes, sir, I do. 2 years. And I was pretty good at it." Now, the manager felt drawn to this guy's energy. Didn't really ask for a resume or anything. He said, "Okay, fine. Report in the morning. You've got a job. After the day is over, I will come down to check on you. Okay, Mark?" "Yes, sir." Okay, so Mark gets the job. Next day unfolds. And the sun sets. The day is over. And the manager comes in to check on Brother Mark and asks him, "So Mark, how was your day?" "Oh, fantastic, sir, fantastic." "Oh, fantastic. Tell me about it. How many sales did you make today?" "Just one, sir, just one." "What? Our salespeople, they make 20 to 30 sales a day, and you made just one? And you said you were a great salesman?" "Yes, sir." "How much was the sale for anyway?" And Mark says, "Approximately 1,000 grand, sir." The manager's eyes widen and says, $1,000? Are you kidding me? He said, "No, sir, $1,000. "So what did you sell?" "Well, first, I sold a small fish hook, then a medium one. Then, after a little bit of chatting with the customer, I sold him this large fish hook along with our latest fishing rod, high tech. And then I asked him, 'So, sir, where are you planning on going fishing?' And he said to me, 'Down by the coast.' 'Down by the coast? And you have a boat?' And our man said, 'No, he doesn't have a boat.' So then I asked him, 'Okay, would you like one?' And he said, 'Sure.' So we went to the boating section and I sold him the twin engine Chris Craft supersonic. So he could go into deep waters and do his fishing over there. When he saw the boat and he looked it over, he said to me that he didn't think that his Honda Civic could pull it. So I told him, "No worries, mate. Let's go. I'll get you something for that." And I took him to the automotive section. And there I sold him this 8-cylinder Toyota Corolla Can-Do. The manager's eyes were just spinning. And so then he said to Mark, "Mark, a guy comes in here to buy a fish hook and you sell him a boat and a truck?" And Mark says, "No, sir, that's not what happened. He came in here to buy a speed bike And I convinced him to go fishing instead because I could see his stress levels were palpable. He was a high executive from some hotshot company, and he was just vibrating with stress. So we got talking, and I convinced him that fishing would be a better option because there he would have the time to reflect in the quiet and in the space to make better choices for his life. Because the way he was going right now was heading straight for a bypass surgery. And he saw the wisdom in what I had to say and was ready to shell out with his credit card 100 grand. Good story. Let's see what it tells us. Assuming you are among several candidates. Yeah, assuming you're among several candidates applying for a job, and all of you are equally talented. Equally talented. Yeah. Who would be the most likely person to get the job? The fellow with the best haircut? The people who are really hot looking? Who would get the best job? Well, people who hire other people, although they are interested in the skills we possess, although they're interested in how good we are in what we do, they are more interested in knowing how good we are in what we are or who we are. How good we are and who we are. Our character. Will we get along with the other people on the team? Do we have a bright outlook on life, or are we a little bit pessimistic? Yeah. Do they feel that they can trust us? That we will add value to the company with our presence, not just with our talents, but with our presence. Yeah. So, although it is a good idea to gain mastery in the skill for which we are applying for a job, yeah, although we need to be skilled in what we're doing, we also need to cultivate the rest of ourselves, our character, our personal qualities, because that's the road to extraordinary. So in the little story with Mark, we can see clearly that it was his resonance that made the manager warm to him and to offer him the job. It was his resonance that made that stressed out executive warm to him and to listen to what he had to say and to change his life direction for the better, because he could feel that he could trust Mark, that his advice was for his benefit. He was not trying to sell him things. He was trying to make his life happier and healthier. Yeah? Most people are interested not in our talents and skills. That's there, sure. But what they really want from us is to know that they can trust us, they can look up to us, they can respect us, they feel good in our presence. That's the most important skill we need to possess. Okay, so let's get on to the class. Why do the majority of beings on this beautiful planet, why do the majority of beings put in time waiting endlessly for things to get better in their professional or in their personal life without bettering themselves? Why are people a little bit daft? They want things to get better, but they don't see the imperative need to better themselves for things to get better. Why? Because they believe that personal refinement is optional. They don't see it as a necessity. Personal refinement, the cultivation of their character and personal qualities, is an optional choice when it is really an imperative one. Why do they believe it's optional? Yes, they're a little bit screw missing. It is because they don't see the link. They don't see the link between personal refinement and a supersonic life. They believe a supersonic life just happens by wishing for it. Or maybe when their fairy godmother will come visiting, but she is in Hawaii on holiday. All right. What do you suppose are the tragic consequences these people inflict on themselves through such negligence? Tragic consequences. Let's look at two. The first tragic consequence of living in La La Land is that we magnetize ourselves to repeated difficulties. Because our choice-making faculty is a little bit flawed, we continue to engage in wrongdoing, believing it is the right thing to do. And the consequence of wrongdoing is suffering. Yeah, suffering. That's the first tragic consequence. Second tragic consequence is that these poor people never get to know their magnificence. It's right there, but they never get to know it because without personal refinement, they don't have the access codes to know their magnificence. No access codes. Oh. And if they don't know their magnificence, they cannot experience the joy, the fulfillment, the ecstasy of what it means to be reborn as a human being. You don't see just how precious a human rebirth is and what it is capable of. No, not on their radar. That's the tragic consequence or consequences. They inflict suffering on themselves and they never get to experience life at its best. They continue to live in the ditch. Conflicts and suffering and illnesses and so on. Not a good choice. So, my friends, it is through love. Yeah? It is love that fuels our courage, our clarity, and our commitment to engage in the discipline required for mastering any skill, regardless of how hard it may be, or how long it may take, or even whether we feel like it or not. It's love that motivates us. But these beings who live in La La Land don't have sufficient love for themselves or for the world around them. And therefore, they keep waiting endlessly for things to get better without bettering themselves. Not the best the choices are. Seeing that, we require wisdom and compassion for awakening, both. Yeah, we require wisdom and compassion for awakening. We need to muster up our resources to rouse these sleeping beings towards making better life choices. Yeah, rouse them from their drowse towards a higher form of living. It's compassion that moves us to do that. So, what skill do we need to cultivate to wake up these sleeping masses? What is required? Our effectiveness as an influencer, is largely dependent on our character and ability to inspire hope towards a brighter future in those around us. People who don't really push themselves out of their comfort zones or complacent zones are those who don't have the hope. They believe that's it. I just have to settle for less. They don't have that hope. We need to inspire that hope, that faith, that trust that there can be a better future. Yeah? So our influence as an effective influencer is largely dependent on our character and ability to inspire hope in others towards a brighter future. You don't have to settle for less, friend. These are the choices you can make, right? So this really has to be our compelling aspiration. If we're going to wake up, we can't just be thinking of ourselves. There's an ocean of suffering out there, and we need to work towards making things a little better before we pop off. Hi. Therefore, the road to extraordinary is always based on compelling aspirations, not on wishy-washy, self-centered aspirations. No. The road to extraordinary is always based on compelling, passionately devoted aspirations. The majority of beings out there on the planet don't have compelling aspirations. Their aspirations are wishy-washy, self-centered aspirations. And it is reflected in the way they live their lives. And how do they live their lives? Vicariously. Yeah, not vibrantly, vicariously. How? Just look. Look at the number of hours they invest or spend wastefully in front of the TV, watching nonsensical programs, or swimming in social media, hours on end. How many years does that add up to of a wasted life? Low frequency aspirations do nothing for us except root us in misery. Mm-mm-mm. There's a saying that the worse off people are emotionally and psychologically, the less they feel it. And the less they feel it, the more resistant they are to doing something about it. Let's say it again. The worse off people are emotionally and psychologically, the less they feel it. They become numb, not understanding the seriousness of their condition. They're not willing to do anything about it because they feel everything's okay. I'm fine. This is all I can do. It's tragic. So just attending talks and workshops, reading books, watching videos, and believing that, wow, this life philosophy really works for me. Hot stuff. And we get on a little temporary high from the retreats and workshops and whatever. This is not enough. Our temporary high has to translate into a lasting high, a lifelong high that comes through compelling aspirations. And what does that mean? It's not enough to just read or to attend retreats. We have to do something tangible with what we learn. If it's not showing in our lives as a passionate way of being for bettering the world around us, we've not really understood anything. So instead of wasting years debating what does the world really need, how can I fulfill that need, what can I do, instead of just wasting time contemplating this way, it's better to ask ourselves, what is it that will make us come alive? What is it that will make us come alive? Because what the world really needs, what people really need the most, are other people who have come alive. Because when we come alive, that's when we are driven towards contributing our best to the world. When we're fast asleep, there is no contribution. So how do we come alive? Once again, so sorry, I have to repeat it once again. It is through the dedicated study and practice of the Dhamma. That's how we come alive. Through the dedicated study and practice of the Dharma, because it is the age-old story of human possibility. Timeless, age-old story of human possibility, of how we have estranged ourselves, separated ourselves from our magnificence, and how we can regain the priceless awareness of just how profound we are and live in a manner that glorifies the good Lord that has given birth to us. Are you understanding, please? It is the age-old story of human possibility, of how we have estranged ourselves from what is finest in us, and how to regain that awareness that puts us solidly on the path to extraordinary, so that we become a blessing for ourselves and those around us. So as we gain traction in our practice, study and practice of the Dhamma, as we gain traction in our practice, we come to realize that whenever heaven sends us any guide in the form of something great, something not so great, something miserable, whenever heaven sends us any guide for our betterment, the good, the bad, or the ugly, we must embrace these messengers from beyond with open, loving, and confident arms. Because only then can we gain the full measure of the blessings they hold for us. Shall I say this in simple words? Okay. In life's playing field, the only way we can perfect ourselves is to embrace every experience as a means for bettering ourselves. Whether we like the experience or we don't like the experience, it is holding blessings for us. When we meet any experience with the right attitude, the right perspective, then and only then do those blessings reveal themselves. When we push things away we don't like, we only postpone our awakening. Whatever life sends our way has to be viewed as a messenger from beyond, holding priceless blessings for us. When we do that, we're in the fast lane. But when we keep pushing things away that we don't like, deny them, avoid them, we delay our progress in awakening. Okay, got that? Right. As we gain traction in our practice, every experience is to be cherished, even if it is a tragedy. Because even through tragedies, even through crises, people have made a 180-degree turn for the better. Think about it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, guy who had muscles like mine, yeah? Arnie, he had a vision to be Mr. Universe. And so he was pumping lead like mad in his hometown. His family, however, didn't believe in his aspiration. But he was into his compelling aspiration. And so they pleaded with him consistently, "Hey, Arnie, what are you doing? Wasting your time in the gym. Get yourself a job like everybody else, buddy. What's all this pumping lead about?" They couldn't understand him. Look where he's now. Resistant messengers from God. Resistance. He used that resistance like energy bars to fuel his resolve. Went for it. Ray Charles, singer, musician, he had the aspiration to be a recording artist, yeah, to be a great musician. Yet his teachers, his lovely teachers, constantly rebuked him, saying he had no talent. Buddy, you have no talent. You can barely play the piano. And God knows you can't even sing. Constant rebuking. You're useless. Go and weave some chairs and earn a living. You're not gonna be a musician, buddy. Did that stop him? No. He is one of the iconic musicians of the 20th century, Ray Charles. So messengers like this from the good Lord, in guise, disguised as negative, but really there are blessings there. Messengers like these do not deter the committed. They only fuel their resolve to achieve those extraordinary results they believe in. And therefore, these fellows who are really committed take all this resistance and chew it up like energy bars and get stronger in their resolve to show the world that what those guys thought was impossible was possible. We need to be like these people. Life will test us. Do we pass the test? Or do we just give up? No, I can't sing. God, I can't play the piano. The road to extraordinary is built on compelling aspirations that we fully believe in, to offer to the world the unique gifts that only we can give them. There's no other Ray Charles. There's no other Arnie. He has something special about him. A bit of a, well, okay. What does this tell you? It is such dogged persistence. Okay? It is such dogged persistence that allows us to gain mastery in any skill we are passionate about. And because such persistence is so very important for mastering any skill that we are passionate about, especially the skill required for awakening, that it is listed among the 10 perfections that I will be talking about in the upcoming classes. It's listed among the 10 perfections that we need to perfect. Because persistence, dogged persistence, regardless of the obstacles that come our way, is to our character and our ability as carbon is to steel. No carbon, no steel. No persistence, no extraordinary achievements. Impossible. If we give up when things get rough, you're never going to get anywhere. Only mediocre mode. What are some other words that describe persistence? Determination. Relentless. Being relentless. Being unstoppable. Tenacity. These are some words that describe persistence. an incredibly indispensable quality that allows us to excel in this world: persistence. And such persistence is clearly demonstrated when we constantly recommit to personal excellence over and over and over again, day in and day out, till we anchor ourselves in feeling our best and doing our best. Got that? Such dogged persistence is seen crystal clearly when we are constantly recommitting to personal excellence over and over and over again, day in and day out, no breaks, till we finally anchor ourselves firmly in feeling our best and doing our best. No persistence, this doesn't happen. Now, when we live in this compelling, passionate manner, towards these high aspirations for perfecting ourselves, guess what happens? The universe bends in our direction, and it lifts us to heights of incredible awareness you could never even imagine. In other words, life or the universe reveals its magic and miracles and mysteries to us. It comes through personal excellence, not through a mediocre life. Any examples come to mind? There are plenty of examples, but let's look at one really supersonic one. The Buddha himself, 6 years of relentless supersonic, ultrasonic practice, 6 years, no giving up. Finally, after 6 years, full awakening to the glory that sparkled in him and sparkles in the world around us. It's called awakening. You can't open this mind. You can't get that insight with money. No bribing the God. Give me some insights. Use the money. No. Only through dedicated practice will we influence the universe to open its mysteries to us. Mysteries that are mind-boggling, transformative, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Praise the Lord. All the hardships we have gone through to get there are nothing in comparison to the rewards that come from right practice, compelling aspirations, helping others up the mountain so we also get to the top. Not just thinking of ourselves, What can you contribute to the world? But the only way you can contribute to the world is if you're coming alive. Waking up. Morihei Ueshiba. Have you heard the name? Morihei Ueshiba, Japanese, was the founder of Aikido. Haya. The best amongst the best martial artist. Small fellow, but the power of the universe flowed through him. Read his autobiography or biography. Magnificent. Morihei Ueshiba. Supersonic. The best among the best martial artists in the world. He's pop now. During practice sessions, he was just magical. So one of his students one day said to him, Sensei, master, your techniques are just miraculous. What you're teaching us is just fantastic. And what's even more amazing for us, your students, is that you never lose your center. How do you do that? Great master, tell us the secret. Guess what he said? Friend, that is not true. I lose my center from time to time. But because I regain it almost instantly, you don't see it. You don't see it because of the speed with which I regain my center over and over again. That's right practice. The constant recommitment to personal mastery is what makes us exceptional in a world that's dedicated to mediocrity. Got that? Okay, here's another little example. Imagine yourself in a pottery class. Pottery. The teacher comes in one day and says, okay, you guys sitting on this side, you're in one group, and you guys on this side, another group. Okay? Today, the assignment is something strange. Everyone is looking. You guys over here, guys in A group, you guys, for you to get an A at the end of the semester, you have to bring me 50 kilos of pots. I'm going to get a weighing scale at the end of the semester, and we're going to weigh your pots. Get me 50 kilos, you get an A. 30 kilos, you get a B. 20 kilos, you get a C. Okay? You guys. You guys, however, you don't need to do all that. You just need to bring me one supersonic pot. Just one. Small one, big one, doesn't matter. Just one really well-crafted pot. And you'll get an A. That's your assignment for the semester. Okay, hi. Day go by. On the day of assessment, guess who has made the best pots? Group A or Group B? Definitely Group A. Why? Because they had the practice. Consistent practice. Pots after pots after pots till they really got to that perfection that was required. Persistent practice. These fellows fussing over just one or two or three pots to get it just right. Fiddling around with just a handful of pots. All they presented was something mediocre. Not sufficient practice. Mediocre. Everything we do better through persistent practice of the skilled variety. And persistent practice of the skilled variety is the only portal, only means to the more that we all seek. And what is this more? It is an elevated state of consciousness, ultrasonic state of consciousness, in which or from which we not only feel our best, but also perform our best. Persistent practice of the skilled variety takes us through that portal to the more that we seek. We feel supersonic, we do supersonic. Now, to anchor ourselves in this incredibly precious way of living, we need to keep three things in mind. Tattoo in the mind. And what are these three things? First, there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut to personal mastery or personal refinement. No shortcuts. So sorry. No can do. You can't hack your way in there. There are no shortcuts to personal mastery from which we can contribute what is finest in us to the world around us. No shortcuts. Why? Because there's a premium to being amongst the best. There's a premium. We need to put in the hard yards. No wishy-washy practice. So sorry. Those guys who qualify for the Olympics are not wishy-washy athletes. They're elite athletes. Do you have any idea just how much practice they need to put in to qualify for the Olympics? There's a premium to being amongst the best. We need to pay the price. So unless we devote ourselves wholeheartedly to doing something we absolutely love to do for an extended period of time, unless we do that for an extended period of time, we will remain mediocre and dissatisfied our entire lives. Nothing satisfies us if we're not living our best. What this means is this. It's not enough to simply do what we love to do. Not enough to simply do what we love to do. We have to remain in love in a loyal and abiding manner for the long haul. We have to remain in love with this compelling aspiration. Any compelling aspiration, we have to remain in love with it for the long haul. Regardless of the challenges we have to face and surmount. Stay in the game. No giving up. Relentless. This, my friends, is reflected in all those beings on the planet who have contributed something of value to the world. It reflects, this rule reflects in everyone who has done something brilliant for the world and for themselves. Are you understanding? This is the first point. There are no shortcuts to personal excellence from which to contribute what is finest in us to the world at large. No shortcuts. You have to put in the hard yards. That means we need to stay committed to what we set out to do, regardless of those messengers from God or heaven or wherever that whisper to us, you are wasting your time. Do something else. No can do. When I chose to leave the US in 1983 after my graduation to follow my calling, which I discovered in January 1980, I had flack from everyone. My parents, first of all, I didn't blame them. They paid for my education. And I'm telling them I don't want the master's degree. It means nothing to me. Family, extended family, friends. Are you nuts? You have a master's degree from the USA. Settle down there in the Golden Land. You'll be so happy there. What are you doing? You're running off into the mountains in India? Are you crazy? Everyone that I knew, even strangers that I told my story to, said I was nuts. Did I care? Zero. Why? Because for me, what the wise would think in relation to my choice was more important than what the world thinks or thought. I chose to follow what the wise would support. And here I am today, driving people crazy. Yeah? Since 1980, I've been on this path, this compelling aspiration to be a blessing for myself and those around me, and I have not deviated. Not once have I gone on a detour. Straight on till the last breath. It's going to happen. That's the kind of compelling aspiration, long haul. We have to remain in love in a loyal and abiding manner, for only then will the universe remove the veils in our mind and show us a glimpse of reality that is absolutely beyond words to describe. Are you understanding, my dear little friends or large friends? Okay, let's move on to the second point. The second point basically describes this first point in another way, right? So, seeing that personal refinement, the refining of our consciousness, yeah, seeing that personal refinement is so imperative for living a worthy life, a life that is saturated in depth and meaning, we must not trade it for anything in the world. No trading it, regardless of the temptation. No. Yeah, regardless of the temptations, regardless of the fears that come our way, regardless of the doubts and the insecurities, we stay on course. So, just as we would not trade our child for a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari or any car of your choice, just as we would not trade our child for some worldly reality, regardless of how much we would desire that worldly reality, we must not trade Personal refinement for any temptation or fears or negativities that come our way. So how do most people trade? How many people, how do they trade? There are many who say they want to be spiritually awake. Lots of people go on retreats and workshops and read books and look at videos and so on. And yet they are trading for things that are of no significance. Every time life does not meet their expectations or their preferences, they lose it. They get angry, they get depressed, they get upset. Every time life sends messengers for them to perfect themselves, they don't see that these are messengers for perfecting themselves. They see these messengers as something to fight against. Not the correct way of living. Are you understanding, please? Second part. Because personal refinement is so very essential, it should not be traded for any messenger of God that tests our commitment and takes us off the path. No. Third point. The only way to bridge the gap, the yawning gap between where we are and where we wish to be, the only way to close that gap is through, please tell, the constant recommitment, to personal excellence or mastery over and over and over again, day in and day out, till we finally anchor ourselves in feeling our best and doing our best. There is no other road to extraordinary. There is no other road. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Look forward to seeing you, well, sharing with you in the next class. Keep rocking. Hallelujah.